guys and girls, and welcome to the Best Better podcast, where we dive into the heart of what makes our communities and lives vibrant.
We're your hosts.
I'm Joelle.
And I'm Abigail. And each month we will explore the pulse of youth culture from the halls of school to the latest in pop culture and everything in between.
Whether we're discussing how to make a difference in your community, tips on leadership, or the hottest trends, we're here to inspire, inform, and engage.
So grab your headphones or however you listen to your favorite podcast and get ready to discover how we can all be our best selves and make the world a little better.
Let's get started. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Best Better podcast. And today we have the pleasure of having some wonderful 4-Hers here on our podcast to help us out today. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves today.
Hi, my name is Lamonie Taylor. I'm 16 years old, and I'm a part of Lenoir County 4-H.
Hi, my name is Sanaa Thompson. I'm also 16 years old and part of.
And today we also have the privilege of being joined by a U.S. Congressman Don Davis, representing Eastern North Carolina. And he's here today to talk to us about leadership, service, and how youth like these two can make a difference. So thank you for joining us, Mr. Davis.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure we're going to have a great time. If you could just give us a little bit of a little bio of who you are and exactly what you do.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be with you today to join the Best Better podcast right here coming out of Lenoir County. My name's Don Davis. I represent North Carolina's 1st Congressional District, consisting of 22 counties in Eastern North Carolina. Was born and raised in Snow Hill, North Carolina, born and raised downtown. My grandmother raised me. My mom went on to college, graduated from Bennett College. My aunt had not to graduate from Elizabeth City State University. My grandmother had this vision of her kids going to college. So I was young. My mom was young, and my grandmother raised me. I learned so much in life early as a kid. From the tobacco fields of Eastern North Carolina. Oh God, I could tell you so many stories there.
Yeah.
As a 4-H'er, learning so much about community, myself, life. So many in the community came together to pour love and support to me. Yeah. I went on to serve our country. Graduated at 94 from the United States Air Force Academy, served active duty Air Force. No matter where I've been in life, I could not Eastern North Carolina.
The best of the best.
That's right. So I came back to Eastern North Carolina, went on to take the uniform off, ran for mayor in hometown Snow Hill, was reelected, went on to serve state senate 12 years, and now serving in Washington, D.C. Not only serving, but to have the distinct honor of being able to serve on United States House Agriculture Committee, as well as United States House of Representatives on Services. So, just a kid from Eastern North Carolina.
Doing big things.
Hey.
Big things.
But
now.
I can tell you a lot came from those early lessons in life from my grandmother and those who just came together around the community that poured into us. And I can tell you so many lessons from working out there, back in those early in life, coming home, working in our family's garden. Yes. Grandmother would always say, hard work is not going to hurt you. And so I learned a lot early to be all in, to show up. I say show up because she wanted us in school to have perfect attendance. Yeah. I was one of those kids. And so we were always there. And she would always, teach us those valuable lessons. Don't be afraid of hard work. Always be true to yourself. And faith, a big part about our household. Church was not an option and played a huge role where I am today. And then the other thing I would say is just looking at others to find the best in others. She would always remind us burn bridges. Sometimes you have to cross it again. That is look for the best. Look for the best in others. So it was a combination of all of this that I would say has brought me to where I am today. Truly honored to represent Eastern North Carolina, and above all, to try to be a shining example, especially young people, that we should never ever give up on our dreams, our hopes, dreams, aspirations, and that we can. I'm right here. Look at this. I'm so inspired today. We can live the American dream in Eastern North.
Yes, we can. Yes. And thank you for your service. We really appreciate it. And thank you for being here today. So we're going to get into a few questions for you, Congressman. All right. So first question. Well, you did that just for us. So you told us a little bit about your upbringing, and you mentioned that you were in 4-H as a youth. Can you tell us a little bit about your 4-H experience?
Oh God, what I remember most is came up with chocolate milkshake.
Okay.
And it was an award-winning, prize-winning chocolate milkshake, and I still remember it to this day.
Do you remember the recipe? Y'all think y'all want some of that chocolate milkshake?
Well, I tell you what, it was an opportunity for young people to come together, and as I was saying before, to just be embraced and know that there was support there, people who cared about us, our futures, and more importantly, wanted to pour into us and provide us an opportunity. And I think 4-H is amazing. And that's why it's so important to me today to make sure that we continue to do everything we can to support 4-H programs, not only here in Eastern North Carolina, but across the nation.
I agree. All right. So, ladies, who's going to start with their question?
I'll start. So first question, what inspired you to go into public service and eventually went for Congress?
Oh, wow. So as a young kid, I went around with my great grandmother, and she would go and move about the community. And I saw so many people reach out to her, ask her for advice, support, wisdom, and somewhat of a community figure, because she never ran for office. And what I realized is there are many people in the community that help to shape communities every single day that never run for office. But at the same time, I then began to put that into perspective. What can you do, as you are in a position to influence policy, communities, shape outcomes? In this case, when we talk about 22 counties, we're talking about a region.
Yeah.
And have a big influence. And for me, my passion is rural America, which is at the core of Eastern North Carolina. 22 counties, all the counties are deemed rural. This is truly the first district of reflection of rural America. And, for me, it is, I still remember I was growing up, I would ride a bicycle, pothole, and shared which I eventually left, went into the Air Force, served active duty, came back home. I was walking the streets, and I looked down. What? That same pothole was still. Now, this is in my adult life. Well, here's the deal. I asked, and I still wonder, how many people walked by the pothole, drove over the pothole, felt the bumps from the pothole? You know what? How many of them just take time, roll up their sleeves, go to work, go. I said potholes, because there are a lot of potholes that are out there, especially when we look at the challenges that we often find ourselves facing in Eastern North Carolina. I want to make sure that you have good paying jobs that are sitting out there waiting on you. For so many young people, young professionals, we need that. The solution is not, as soon as graduation happens, get in the car and just head off to Raleigh, Charlotte, other places where we can get out of Dodge. But we need to answer the question, what real opportunities look like. So I decided to take off the uniform, run for office. And I still remember this day. Campaign thing was change is coming. And I said, okay, if you want to move forward, tackle tough issues in the community, support us. And sometimes some are okay with status quo, not doing anything. Yeah. If you're okay with status quo, then I'm not your person. Before it was over, we won the election, about 63% of the vote. And I went in office and it was like, we ran the campaign now. We got to go to work. Yeah. Guess what? We filled the pothole. Yeah. Filled the pothole. But as I was saying, and I've discovered this so often, there are these potholes out there, especially for us in rural America and Eastern North Carolina. When I look at the economics, our economy, I mean, North Carolina is a great place to do business. We tend to rate number one in the nation. Great place for doing business. That if you draw a line along I-95 and you point east, I would imagine if we were a state by ourselves, that we would probably be near dead last in that same ranking. When I think about education, we still have a lot of challenges making sure that we're getting resources into the classrooms for kids. This is huge for us in the East. When I think about healthcare, I mean, one of those H's, health. Mm-hmm. So many health disparities in Eastern North Carolina, from early ages, birth, infant mortality, to chronic illnesses, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, even to life expectancy. When we look at life expectancy, typically, if you're in the East, our life expectancy is lower than other parts of the state. How is it that it continues to land this way in the same regions? These are potholes we have to. Now potholes that unfortunately have persisted over generations. And there are solutions. I mean, we have to continue to make sure that we are creating the pathway for good paying jobs in the East. That means we have to shore up agriculture. So many farmers right now are in doubt. They're scratching their heads trying to figure out what in the world is going on. How am I going to make it? And you cannot just rely on loans. Equity begins to run short after a while. I'm just saying. And we've even begun to see operations closing. So we have to make sure that we're filling the gap in a voice, especially for our farmers, agriculture community. Going beyond that, we talk about defense. We have a lot of military installations in Eastern North Carolina. I represent Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. I also represent Coast Guard, U.S. Coast Guard Elizabeth City. Okay. We absolutely have Fort Bragg, Adjourn, Cherry Point. Our installations are here. We have men and women who are putting on the uniform every day, their lives on the line to safeguard America. We have to make sure they have the resources to succeed. Think about this last Congress. For instance, with Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, there was some effort to begin to downsize into what we call diverse squadrons. And they went and cut one squadron at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, 520 jobs. And then when you continue the conversation, the intent was to come back and cut another squadron, another 520 jobs. We can't go backwards in peace. We should be moving forward. One thing I would add here, that's why it's so important to support efforts such as, we know right now, for instance, this is on the military side, that China really and becoming an increasing threat. And we just cannot take our eyes off of what's taking place. They're increasing efforts, shipbuilding, submarines, and we have to keep up. We cannot let this gap to continue to persist. So as we're ramping up efforts, shipbuilding, submarine building, we know, for instance, Newport News is out there. They're going to have to ramp up operations. You can't do it all in Virginia. So that means then we have right now about 1,100 North Carolinians who are already going into Virginia, good paying jobs. We have to continue to shore up a pipeline to good paying jobs right here. We'll talk about the global transport. we have to continue to make sure that we're providing support for the global transport so that we can make this our research travel purposes.
Yeah.
When we think about Big Weddings Center East, there's some amazing work that's taking place right here. And just know this, that we have to, I truly believe, have these conversations. That's why it's so important to sit down with podcasts, because if our best is going to become better, then it's going to take intentionality in these conversations, because at the end of the day, young people deserve, I'm just going to be candid and say this, an opportunity to get paid.
Yeah.
Because they have a good
Y'all would like to get paid, right?
And we want that to happen right here in Eastern North Carolina.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that that's one big thing we need more of is people rolling up their sleeves and ready to fix those potholes, right?
That's right.
So next question.
What does a typical day look like for you as a congressman?
Oh, wow.
Pretty sure it's really busy.
What a question. So
all
it
that
starts
affiliated
in the
is.
wee hours in the morning, okay? I'm typically up at 5. Later mornings, about 6 something. And my days would go from the morning till late at night off. We're probably putting in 14-hour days. But let me speak towards this. In Washington, D.C., you may typically wake up. You're meeting with those advocates that may have interest in a particular area. You may go to reception early in the morning. Also, let me add this, by the way, I forgot almost. So I've been a member of the Congressional baseball team.
Okay.
So I got to get up and go to practice before we get to the receptions and all that. And I've also played on the Congressional football team.
Okay.
So often for me, it's getting up to go to practice first, then go to the receptions. Meeting with those who want to share their interests, items they're advocating for. We may later start going into committee meetings. After the committee meetings, we have different caucuses that we're a member of. I'm a member of the Fourth Country Caucus, for example. That's a group of military members of Congress on both sides, Republicans, Democrats, who come together to talk about, for instance, national security issues. So we come together and we're, as caucuses, we may have our caucus meetings. Then we'll typically go in for a first round of vote series, sometimes in the afternoon, right? Early afternoon. Then we'll go back often to another committee meeting or a meeting with constituents that are stopping by the office, waiting to eventually get to the second round of vote series, which typically is about 6:30 evening. I may, between the first, second round, go to the floor, because what is so important to me is telling the story of Eastern North Carolina residents, our families, what we're experiencing. So often, so many people just feel left out of the process. So what is important to me is making sure that we're telling our story.
Yeah.
So that people hear, when I go to the podium on the floor of the House to speak about what's going on, whether we're celebrating someone's accomplishment or we're expressing the challenges that we're facing. That's going before not only the American people, but really the world.
Yeah.
So it's important to me to take the time to share that story. Then we'll go back for another round of votes. Like I said, typically about 6:30. May go back to another reception or so. And truly, often,
You're not tired by then?
late at night, I might be getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner
all in one.
All at once. So, it's a fast-paced environment. When we're back in the district, we typically are making our rounds, going to check-ins, talk to constituents. To me, that is so important. 22 counties. Now, last Congress, we had 19. We had the redistricting, so we increased the number of counties. We made over 300 stops to counties within our district last Congress, and we have to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to check in and let people know that we're representing them, to hear from them, so that when we go, we can be better informed. And in between all of that, then been especially a member of the House Armed Services Committee, and that's taken me to Ukraine, Middle East. I'm making other trips across the country. Just met with the president of Mexico, Argentina. Just trying to deal with issues that fall within our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So that is a full day.
And I was literally going to ask you. I was literally going to say I did not hear you mention anything about resting or eating lunch or breakfast. So at the end of the day, we know you get breakfast, lunch, and dinner all at once.
That typically, I'm telling you.
All right.
But we're grateful for our farmers. There's still some food available for us, but we got to keep working for it to make sure that food's available.
Yeah, we don't have
and the
we don't have food
and the fuel.
All right, so now we're going to get into some questions of youth leadership and public service. So the first question I have for you is, what advice do you have for young people who want to become leaders in their communities and their schools?
So I was at Andrews Air Force Base, serving as a protocol officer, and been in Andrews Air Force Base. I was working Air Force One, different cabinet level members of Congress. And I remember a conversation that I had with a member of Congress that was always front and center for me now. And I was told to make sure that you're rolling up your sleeves and you're working, putting yourself out, working for the community. What I would say to young people, don't ever hesitate to roll up your sleeves and go to work, because this is about giving back. And for me, giving back to a community that's poured so much into us. And if you look typically at the core of any movement that's ever happened are young people bring so much to the table. But not only that, I believe the community is a reflection of how active young people are in that community in terms of the success of that community or not. So I would encourage young people, get involved, whether we're talking about county board meetings or Board of Education, going to help register people, whatever it is, get involved. Come help the local 4-H. I mean, volunteer, do some work. It makes a world of a difference in the life of the community.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Would y'all?
Definitely.
All right.
Okay, so me and Lamonie have been friends for years now, and we have been participating in North Carolina 4-H Congress for the past 2 years, which is a conference where all over North Carolina get together and get involved in community service and leadership opportunities, and we also elect our new state officers. So, you said you were involved in 4-H growing up, but what other youth organizations were you involved in? Maybe involving student council or sports, anything like that?
A, B, C, and all the above. I was involved in youth, the organization called Work to help the family make ends meet.
Yeah.
I was involved after that. Actually, I remember
J.O.B.
That's right. But I still hear this outside of 4-H. And I still remember these days coming over to the Galaxy Sports. I was on the bowling league,
yeah.
and just being able to hang out with each other, and then occasionally we'll go skating and everything. It was in high school. I actually decided to pursue being the student body president. So I went and ran a campaign. I was actually elected as a student body president. So I'm highly involved and engaged. And I cannot thank my family, the community, and really the wisdom too of my grandmother, understanding the importance. Church. I went to church. Like I said, all of this came together, and I believe there was wisdom. They had not gone to college. I'm second generation, again, college by my family, but they had wisdom that if they could surround young people with this love that you get from a community that comes from engaging and participating in these different organizations, that you can stay on the up and up. Recreation, play baseball growing up, football, just involved all the time. So I guess I'm kind of now accustomed to just staying busy and have a life of being busy. Or
Great
engaging,
answer.
never said that
Yeah,
one.
engaging.
If
We
you want to
like
make a difference, there's a difference between just being busy and,
Yeah.
and making a difference.
because that's my mom used to say. You can be busy doing nothing.
That's right. There you go. There you go. There's that wisdom.
So, as Sanaa said, we've been to Congress for the past 2 years, and at Congress we get to vote on our state officers. So, why do you feel it's important for you to be engaged in civic life, even if we can't legally vote yet?
Absolutely. We have to learn the process, and you can engage in life community even without necessarily holding office or legally being able to vote. But not only that, I think it's important for us to understand too why we're here. What's the fundamental things that I do as elected member of Congress to represent the area? I would put them in 3 buckets in particular. Number one, and this is the argument I would make for every young person. Go ahead and begin to engage in the process, especially with elected offices and being aware and becoming exposed to what people are saying and what they're doing and what they're voting for. Number one, we make decisions around how to spend money from the public. Guess what? We're all taxpayers. We're taxpayers here. You're a taxpayer. Even before you're voting, you're going to spend money. You're spending money and paying taxes. The more you engage, you're working, the more you're often paying in taxes. That goes kind of into a different level, federal level. We're talking, truly trillions of dollars. To run the country, it's about $7 trillion. All right. Now, obviously, too, there's a gap because we call the deficit because we're not totally bringing in all of that revenue. So that creates what's called the deficit. But the point that I'm making is, if you're not concerned then about who's representing you, what they're doing, then I would just say up to you. How to spend all your money on the table because you just care less about your money. But I think we should be. So we should be concerned about how our money is being spent. Number 2, we all have to abide and comply with some level of we call it a rule, a regulation, or a law. We are lawmakers. So we are passing laws that are going to impact the American people. And guess what? Young people are impacted by these laws.
Yeah.
Somebody came with a law and said you have to go to school, right? K-12. What does that look like? How then are we funding and supporting schools at the federal level? If we now begin to make alterations, cuts, it could impact Pell Grants. That could be a determining factor whether someone is able to continue to pay for school. So we're impacted by these laws, regulations that are being created at the federal level, at the state, and at the local level. That's every reason why someone should want to be involved, to understand and influence then how are these rules being rolled out that's going to impact our lives. And then number 3, I think it's important to realize, and this is kind of the third role that I think can see us playing, is we're here to advocate, to represent. That's my title, United States Representative. I'm here to represent. I don't just represent those who can vote for me. I represent this district, and I represent Eastern North Carolina. And it's my job, my responsibility, and obligation, I would say, to especially, and it's really my why, is to make sure checking in, talking to and engaging with young people, young professionals, and especially here in the East, because I want everyone to understand and know that we're working to create more opportunities to answer that question. What does real opportunities look like for us in the East? Because yes, I believe we should be able to live the American dream right here in East.
I can definitely attest to that. So Lamonie here is going next week. She's going to have the opportunity of attending what we call in 4-H a youth voice, which is a program that enables kids to get to know a little bit more about local government. So in January of 2004, you launched a teen and youth professional mentoring and leadership advisory council. Can you tell us more about what inspired this initiative and how you see it shaping the future of civic engagement and leadership in Eastern North Carolina?
Before I do that, I want to really pause here and to thank each and every one of you for what you're bringing to the table. This is not just a podcast, but y'all have a lot of background that brought you to this table today. When I think about you coming back, getting back to Lenoir County, going to work, rolling up your sleeves, when I think about when y'all are talking about participating with the 4-H Congress, I mean, that's so inspiring. I mean, just what you're learning, what you've been exposed to, I think is invaluable. So thank you for what you're doing. I commend you. I really do. And when I think and talk in that light, man, so I came back to Eastern North Carolina. My car came back here.
You drove it back?
A lot will leave. I'm not coming back. But I wanted to come back because, I mean, talk is cheap. And at the end of the day, we have to be the example. And I came back because I want to inspire young people, young professionals to stay here. Matter of fact, I think if we do it the right way, we will become inviting for even others to want to come to Eastern North Carolina. I'm saying all this to say I can't just serve and do this and be disengaged with young people. So that's why we put the council together. Now it runs, we've timed it out where it runs with the school year. Okay. And we're looking at recalibrating now as we're preparing for the upcoming school year. But it is a direct pathway through the council in which we reach out to the schools and we bring young people to have direct conversation, a direct path to their member of Congress. How better way to empower young people than that?
I don't think there's no better way than that. So for our next question, it goes to
How do you think programs like 4-H can help prepare young people for leadership and careers in public schools?
Leadership, as you know, going to the 4-H Congress, just being engaged in the work of 4-H here in the community, it's an important skill set. And leadership is a skill set that you can take really any career field with wherever you are going in life. Whether it's organizing, is now organizing something around employees and work. And that's a leadership trait, leadership skill. And leadership, I believe that a part of leadership comes from natural, when we're born. But at the same time, this is what we know of a family. This is going back to my teaching at the Air Force Academy. And I've spent so much time in life dealing and talking about leadership. So much of leadership comes from lived experiences. So it's the experience that you're going from and that you're exposed through 4-H that creates now a skill set within an individual that really is life changing. What you have developed just from participating, in that Congress, 4-H Congress, just that alone. I mean, there's so many life lessons that you gain from that exposure that it will be with you for the rest of your life, no matter what you do, where you go. That's what I would say. That's why we should be involved. It helps to develop outstanding citizens and leaders.
Yeah. I think that is so true because even when I think about me growing up in 4-H and people always saying exactly what you said. These are the things that's going to stick with you and follow you through life. But then I feel like as a youth, you think, okay, I believe that, but does it necessarily apply? And then for me to come back and work in an organization that I felt like gave me so much, it really is a full circle moment because now I see youth like Lamonie and Sanaa go to Congress and get to experience the same things I experienced and excel and take those learning moments and apply them to their everyday life and academic life. So I totally
And they keep on looking run for place Congress and run for the U.S. Congress.
I know, right? They coming to both our jobs. All right.
As the proud former mayor of Snow Hills, why do you believe it's important for young people to have a voice in local government, and how can programs like Youth Voice help prepare them to be active leaders in their community?
Yes. When I talk and think about local government, so there's the federal government, there's the state government, so the United States of America, the state of North Carolina. Then we have these local arms or units of government, county. We may even have the municipality. We have, for instance, Lenoir County Board of Commissioners, the Lenoir County Board of Education, the school board. Then we have the city of Kinston, instance. We even have the sheriff. I mean, there's all the clerk. I mean, all these local offices. Why is it so important to engage, in particular at the local level? I can tell you, one of the challenging things of Congress, when you bring, and we have to explain what government is. I want to explain what it is first. Government is when you bring in individuals who are often elected, or in some cases you may have some who are elected, but you bring those in who are elected, and that's what's considered a republic, where now you have, because think of it this way, if we have to make a decision on behalf of we're going to make a decision on behalf of the city, it'd be tough to bring everybody in the city together. And then it's going to be really challenging when you're trying to bring everyone to the same table, come to one conclusion. But what you see then is break it out into different subgroups, wards, districts, and so forth. And then we have the election, and that representative now represents areas come now to a board meeting. And here's the reason you want to engage at the local level. There are often way more decisions that are made at the local level than at the federal in terms of number of decisions. Now, granted, often the decisions at the federal level are going to have a far-reaching and wide impact, but it's those local decisions that are being made through local governments that are going to have a big impact too, because they're making more of those decisions on behalf of people. And I think it's so important to engage then, really at all levels, but especially, let's not ignore the power of the local level. And that's the power then of engaging, especially when we're talking about, okay, well, let's take the time, youth voices, to bring in, go and expose them to a county meeting. Yeah. Do you know this? You can sign up and get on your local county's agenda and speak for, typically they'll give you 2 to 3 minutes, depending on what, the rules they set. They'll let you come and share a concern at the local meeting. Here it is. I mean, so many young people, and especially those at high school, I mean, they're impacted by the decisions of the local school board. You realize you can actually go to that school board meeting. I mean, these are what are deemed public meetings. They have to, by law, allow the public to come in. They have to take care of their business. The process of making a decision before the public. Certain things they can go into what we call the closed meeting discussion, employment-type issues, those things, impacting legal decisions that would impact the community, but then they have to come back out open to the public domain. So to bring young people people into that process early to see then how decisions are being made. I think that's some value.
I think it's very important because I feel like they get a real glimpse of what's going on in their community and how it directly affects them. As far as, I mean, because sometimes, I mean, even when I first started voting, I always thought, like, even though I'm voting for like the president, how much of this really is going to affect me personally? But learning through 4-H and going to things like youth voice and Congress, like, it really makes a difference, not only at a presidential level, but at a local level to go. And if you don't necessarily have a concern, just go to the meeting to see what's going on in your community. I feel like everybody has that right, and everybody has that right to know what's going on in their neighborhood. I totally agree.
And we should take interest in it because we will be impacted ultimately by those decisions.
Yeah. So now we're going to go into our hot topics at NC Pride. So for our first question of our hot topics, what are some of the biggest issues facing young people in Eastern North Carolina today?
Without any doubt, the biggest issue is employment, finding what real opportunities look like, and a pathway to good paid jobs. Young people, we need to create that pathway. We need them to know that you can land a good paying job, and that job is going to help you in your career. It's going to help you to have home ownership, own your own home.
Yeah.
Meaning we have to also deal with housing issues, infrastructure issues, road, broadband. And
Broadband is internet, guys.
there you go. Yeah, there you go. There you go. And we should be able to continue to advance in a career, a prosperous career. And we should be able, as a result of that, to be able to one day have children and raise our children, make sure that they're able to get a good education and that they're now able to get, perhaps, I'm just saying, this is typically the heart and spirit of a parent. You want your kids to have more than what you have.
Yeah.
More opportunities. So you want your kids now to be able to get off to the best start in their life. You want to continue to go to work, and eventually, you want to be able to take a vacation in between that.
We need those.
And you do that long enough, you want to sit on the porch one day in a rocking chair, perhaps with the American flag hung off the post, and sip lemonade and just say, hey, life has been great. And truly realize how much God has blessed us.
Yeah, that is
Yes.
I almost
That's
seen the movie.
amazing.
Like, okay. All right. Next
is amazing.
topic question.
How is your work in Washington helping support rural communities like ours?
Oh, absolutely. We spend so much time. I could probably take the rest of the podcast talking on this question. But, right away, we have to protect jobs. So I've been really engaged, as I was talking about before, making sure we protect the F-15Es squadrons of Seymour Johnson. Also, we're engaged making sure that we're protecting jobs in the agriculture sector. But we still have a whole lot of work. Disaster assistance is for us. The West, in particular, experienced Helene.
Yeah.
We experienced drought. So we still have to make sure, mindful of what's taking place. Labor wages rampant increase, and there's just a whole lot going on. We have to make sure that there's opportunity for not only for the farmers, those farming today, to stay in agriculture, but we have to make sure that young people look at their parents perhaps and say, I want to stay in this. I want to continue to fan the farm, to continue the efforts that passed on, the legacy over the generations over time. At the same time, we have to keep looking for new opportunities here. But what I would say is I mean, there's so much, and a lot of times this is taking the time to explain rural America to others. Fundamentally, I've been in meetings and you start talking about rural America, and fundamentally, there's kind of a disconnect. So it's really sharing our stories. Why it's so important? It is going around, taking the time to hear what concerns are. It is sitting down, really part of what I think is so important is taking the time again with young people, young professionals, reinstilling hope that we can do this here in the East. It is now when I meet with the communities, understanding what the needs are right here in the community. It is understanding the value of the global transport, what it means in terms of the future. It is understanding that there's a need to do renovations at the courthouse. It's realizing that we're working on the footbridge, to connect the community over to the nature center. It is moving throughout and understanding the needs of, for me, the 22 counties. Even within those counties, different communities. I was just in a meeting yesterday with the mayor and town council members, and they had a power outage. Long story short, trying to address that situation, old infrastructure. So there's a whole lot just going on. Kinston needs an MS station. I mean, it's moving through communities across the East, understanding the needs, and then going out, advocate, and really pushing for those needs. Is telling our story so that we're not just being written off, that we are front and center, know that we're being heard. And when people really hear our stories, it was, for instance, when the decision was made to disapprove funding to take care of the roof at North Lenoir High School, is reaching out to the secretary and say, hey, this is the implication. I went into school and then we have trash cans capturing water. Yeah. And guess what? Eventually, we were able to open up that process. So it has always been aware of what's taking place and how you can best advocate, not just for today, but for our future as well.
Okay. What makes you most proud to represent Eastern North Carolina?
Oh, God. What makes me most proud, I was sharing with the staff that's been with me, this is so much like family for me. Moving around and the communities that I'm able to engage in, people really connected with over the years. And this is more like family for me. And this is like, if you're at a family reunion and then the family representative to go talk and work for the greater good of your family to make life better for your family. And our name in this case is Eastern North Carolina, and it's just so much pride. This is home for me. This is where I was born. I was raised, born in downtown Snow. I left and I came back as soon as I could. I mean, this is home, and I love this place. I have tremendous passion, and again, my why is so much driven around the question of young people, because at the end of the day, you are the future of Eastern North Carolina. You are Eastern North Carolina. And we have to continue to make sure that Eastern North Carolina is left in great hands.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right. So we're going to get into a little game. This is a little fun part. Now, these questions might get you into most trouble. All right. So we're going to do a rapid fire round, and we're going to ask that you answer these questions as quickly and honestly as you can. All right. So our first question: where is your favorite place in Eastern North Carolina to get food?
To get food? Mm-hmm. Oh, God. I thought we were going to say barbecue.
What's your favorite place to get food?
I want to be clear. I'm in Kinston, okay, right outside of Kinston, and I know this. I mean, first of all, the first congressional district. I mean, we are one of the greatest producers of pork in particular, and we hold the world record now of the most pulled pork barbecue sandwiches sold in an 8-hour
Kinston,
window.
North Carolina.
Kinston, North Carolina, 4,775. There you go. All right.
All right.
Okay, Nick, what is your dream vacation spot in Eastern North Carolina?
My dream, I mean, growing up, we would go to Topsail Island, and for me, I would simply say, it's a great opportunity to just reflect, making those times, because as a kid, we grew up fishing, and then we're here, go hunting and so forth. So I would still put that as not only a great place, but one that's very sentimental for me,
Okay.
because we grew up often going to Topsail.
Okay.
North Topsail.
What's one word that you would use to describe leadership?
Leadership is an honor. Honor.
Yeah.
Because I'm just saying, with leadership comes fellowship. And for those to also place in you their confidence to lead, it must be granted the word honor.
Yeah.
Don't take it for granted ever.
All right. Your favorite Southern beverage, is it sweet tea or lemonade?
Oh God, it's now you can say I'm a politician. It's an Arnold Palmer, man. Oh God, or Sunjoy in the Chick-fil-A here.
Okay,
by
okay.
Lowe's. I mean,
That was a nice one. That was a nice one. That was a nice one. Please them all. Please them all.
What is your favorite book or book that inspires you?
I'm gonna tell you my day to day. It is I'm constantly reading, a host of newspapers, whether it's Wall Street Journal. I'm just saying, or and clearly this is me too. Okay, is CNN, is Fox, is MSNBC, because I'm trying to hear all perspectives. So I spend a lot of time in that, and probably don't spend as much time. But one of my favorite movies of all times, and I just remember growing up, was Boys in the Hood. You remember that?
Yeah, I like that one.
I just think it captures so much of those days growing up.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I have a very controversial question.
We're
We're gonna end that right.
Yeah.
What is the best city to get barbecue?
Kinston.
Kinston.
All
right.
Yeah, we
Some
got
people
that one
say-
now. Come
Some
on.
people say like different parts of North Carolina has the best barbecue, but we standing strong.
That's right. And this is my understanding. I had the inside information. I was there, when all this happened, and or I got there right after, and Guinness does it in like an 8-hour window. My understanding, we broke in about 5 hours. We just ran out of barbecue. It was that good.
That's a good problem to
I
have.
know.
All right. So at ending the podcast, we like to have what we call a mindful minute. So this we want you to in this mindful minute, we like to give like inspirational quotes or an inspirational message to our youth and our listeners. So this is our prompt question for you. What's one message that you'll like to leave with the youth of Lenoir County today and beyond?
The message that I would leave is, please know that you are valued, you are important, that there are those in the community that not only care about you, but love you and are dedicated in a real way about your future, making sure that there's a brighter future for you and there's opportunities for you. Sometimes don't know if young people always understand and see. There's a song out there talks about fake love.
Yeah.
Y'all know what I'm talking about here. People can see through all that.
Yeah.
There are people that care. And I will say to every young person out, you are of value. And we need you. It is okay to have fun, enjoy life. But it's okay too to be able to understand what real opportunities are, to take advantage of those opportunities right here at home. It's okay to you can leave and go to other places. I mean, we have opportunities here. Lenoir Community College, I was over Lenoir Community College for years. I mean, people are working hard every single day to make sure that we're giving the hope of tomorrow. Don't give up. Hold on. And just realize there are real people fighting for you out there.
Thank you for those kind words of
A
inspiration.
beautiful message.
And thank you guys for tuning in to the Best Better podcast. And a big thank you to Congressman Don Davis for sharing his story and inspiring us to lead and serve. So don't forget to follow us on all platforms and stay tuned for more episodes of the Best Better podcast, where we learn, grow, and do our best so we can be our best.
Thank you again for coming.
Thank you all.